Look. Lula went to talk to Alcolumbre. According to sources, Alcolumbre asked for Lula's support to try to remain president of the Senate next year. The PT member in turn reportedly demanded commitment. Lula, right, reportedly demanded Senator Davi Alcolumbre's commitment so that the proposal to end the 6-on, 1-off work schedule is approved still in 2026. The dinner, which lasted more than 3 hours, was mediated by Alexandre de Moraes and also by Federal Supreme Court Justice Cristiano Zanin. According to reports, Lula and Alcolumbre expressed the grievances that had built up during their period of estrangement. And they ended the conversation with the assessment that things were back to square one. Then you say, okay, Andre, but what about the end of the 6-on, 1-off work schedule and then only after the elections, by all indications? And you know very well that the end of the 6-on, 1-off work schedule will only be approved after the elections if Lula wins. If Lula wins, there will be an end to the 6-on, 1-off work schedule. For every 5 days you work, you will have 2 guaranteed days off without a pay cut. Now, if Flavio wins, God forbid, in the name of Jesus, you can forget about it. That this will not be approved. And so this dinner was held to try to calm the situation down. Especially because you know that there's a vacant seat on the Supreme Federal Court. Justice Luis Barroso retired and opened up a vacancy in the Supreme Federal Court. Lula nominated Jorge Macias. The senator, president of the Senate, said he didn't want Jorge Macias, and he worked behind the scenes so that Macias wouldn't be approved in the federal Senate. Do you remember all of that? After that, it was over. Davi Alcolumbre, everything he could do to harm Lula's government, he did. He even took his fat butt and sat on top of the proposed constitutional amendment approved in the Chamber of Deputies that establishes the end of the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule, sat on it and didn't let it move forward. Then he went and asked Lula for support. Because next year there will be an election for the presidency of the Senate and for the presidency of the Chamber of Deputies. So he already asked Lula for support to help him get reelected as president of the federal Senate. He's only thinking about himself, right? The rest can go to hell. The rest can go to hell. After all, he's already set. He doesn't need to worry about the elections right now. And there are people who say, I'm not going to vote for him. No, he's not worried about your vote. He has another 4 years of his term guaranteed. A senator's term is 8 years. He served 4 and has another 4 left. He won't be participating in this election. His term is already guaranteed. That's why he's acting so arrogant. That's why he's doing what he's doing. It's a shame. I keep thinking, to be president of the republic, you have to be very responsible, right? Because Lula is a very responsible guy. Lula doesn't hesitate. He pursues what serves people's interests. If Lula were vain, if he were like that, but Lula isn't. This here is a great example. But Davi Alcolumbre is ashamed, thank you. Because it should have already been approved. The end of the 6-on, 1-off work schedule hasn't been approved because of Davi Alcolumbre. Because he wants to protect his own interests. So he can approve it later. If Lula wins a 4th term, because if Lula doesn't win a 4th term, Flavio will never let this get approved. It's just like the issue with Donald Trump, right? Lula said he will reach out to Donald Trump again to talk to him. That he will try to talk to Donald Trump again. Lula said that. Why? He wants the best for Brazil. He wants what's good for Brazil. He has to try to talk. He always tried to talk, always tried to have a dialogue. Trump is the traitor. Along with the traitors to the country here in Brazil, and we know very well who they are, especially Flavio Bolsonaro, Eduardo Bolsonaro, Alexandre Ramalho, and their crew. It's really outrageous, you know? And the worst part of all, do you know what it is? That's not it. Not even the fact itself. And the worst part of all is that there are Brazilians who believe in these scammers who keep shouting God, country, and family. They are traitors to the country. Among other things, right? It's absurd. So, like, it's just like the election now, guys. A bunch of bums are going to be elected. Kuplata, fascist, extremist. A bunch of bums are going to be elected and re-elected, right, Nicholas? Very sad. Then the fight gets even harder, but also more necessary. That's why it's important. When you vote, vote for the entire caucus that will give Lula the backing he needs to govern. Otherwise, Lula won't be able to govern. Look at this situation. It's a great example. The end of the 6 days on, 1 day off work schedule was supposed to have been approved. So we have to be smart. Don't fall for people's sweet talk, you know? Because once they get in there, all they want is to quid pro quo and payoffs. If not, they don't support the government in anything, even when it's good for the people. The Prosecutor General's office charges Oswaldo Eustáquio with criminal association before the Supreme Federal Court. The pro-Bolsonaro blogger has been a fugitive in Spain since 2023. The Office of the Prosecutor General has charged the pro-Bolsonaro blogger Oswaldo Eustáquio before the Supreme Federal Court with criminal association. Based on social media posts and participation in protests against the certification and inauguration of President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. In 2018, Justice Alexandre de Moraes, the rapporteur of the case, determined this Wednesday, the 5th, that Eustáquio be notified by public notice with a 15-day deadline for a preliminary defense. Since the blogger lives in Spain and is considered a fugitive from Brazilian justice, the case is being processed under seal at the Supreme Federal Court. José Eustáquio has already been convicted of slander, defamation, and so on. But the Spanish justice system did not accept this as sufficient grounds for his extradition. This is to enable his extradition. Pull up the legal code. This new case against José Eustáquio will provide the technical and constitutional basis. The legal basis for Spain to accept the request for the arrest and extradition of José Eustáquio. Right, Andre? Yes. Obviously, the process is just starting now. He will be summoned by public notice. The process will continue. Then he will be convicted. Then there will be the deadline for his defense. Once the defense deadline is over, the sentence will start to be carried out. At that moment, the Supreme Federal Court will be able to request his arrest and extradition again there in Spain. And this here is a new fact and a new crime. That warrants extradition. Then let's see what Spain is going to do, right? If Spain is going to cover for him, or if this time Spain will actually comply with the treaties and international reciprocity conventions that exist between Brazil and Spain. Or if he's going to cover up for a criminal, like Donald Trump is doing over there in the United States, with the fugitive criminals who are there. Let's wait and see, right? But that's the modus operandi. They keep causing trouble, and then they run away. That's what Flavio is going to do. Listen to what I'm telling you. Flavio is not going to beat Lula. With that, Flavio will lose his parliamentary immunity. He won't be a senator anymore. Because his term ends on December 31st of this year. On January 1st, 2027, Flavio won't be anything anymore. And what is he going to do? He's going to pack his bags and go to the United States because he knows how much trouble he's in and what he did. And he's going there to see if he can get the same protection that Eduardo Bolsonaro is getting. Oh boy. And then he's going to play the victim, the poor, helpless, persecuted guy. He keeps causing trouble, causing trouble, causing trouble. Then he comes back with that repentant Mary Magdalene face as if he never did anything. And then, for being so shameless, Lula says he will try to talk to Trump next week amid the crisis with the United States. Once again, Lula will do what a president has to do. Seek dialogue, seek consensus, seek to handle situations in the best possible way, especially for our territory, our people, our homeland, our nation. That is what it means to be the president of the republic. What's unfortunate is that meanwhile, there's Eduardo Bolsonaro and Paulo Figueiredo, especially supported by Flavio, sabotaging everything behind the scenes with the American government. Because Flavio knows that the only way he can win the elections is by cheating. And with the United States, through their interference, otherwise he won't win. Not here, not even in Timbuktu. They know that. And they're working behind the scenes for that, not only in the United States, but here in Brazil as well. With influencers, with journalists, and with military personnel as well. To try to win by underhanded means with interference from the United States. Because let's be very, very, very clear, Lula doesn't lose to anyone. Lula doesn't lose to anyone. He might even win in the first round. What we need to worry about is the meddling and interference from the United States. Through dirty tactics. Infiltrators, saboteurs. Notably with Nunes Max and Andre Mendonça at the Superior Electoral Court. Let's be honest. So we have to be very careful. Because Lula will win a fourth time. And he's going to give these people such a big beating that they won't even find their way home. And it might even be in the first round. It'll be in the first round. I've been telling you this from the start. There's no way around it. For Lula to lose these elections, it would have to be sabotage. And there would have to be infiltration from the United States here. Otherwise, they can't win. Without interference from the United States, there's absolutely no way they can win. And they know that. They know what I'm talking about. Oh, let's put up a statement here. That's always good. I'll put it here. Because otherwise it's just me talking, right? You even get tired of it. Do you get tired? You don't, right? No, I don't get tired of it. I really don't. No, I don't get tired of it. How could we get tired of something so good? We get tired of bad, boring stuff. Annoying. Today is the day. Hi, Jesus.
It's unfortunate when politics takes over the federal police. The federal police is a state institution. It's not a government police force, nor is it an opposition police force. Now, Minister Flavio Dino authorized the federal police to investigate possible information leaks in the case of Luis Fabio da Silva, also known as Ululinha. The federal police want to know if there was an information leak intended to harm Lulinha. In order to expose investigations that should be kept under seal, I want everyone in this country to be investigated. From Lula's son to Bolsonaro's son. Now, this can't be done selectively. It can't be done just because the elections are approaching and things need to be balanced. The judgment, the game somehow. The federal police needs to be above suspicion. The country doesn't want a federal police that serves Lula, nor a federal police that works against Lula. Brazil wants a federal police that is respected, and a respected federal police is one that is above politics.
Absolutely. I completely agree with the congressman. But the congressman forgot to mention that we cannot have Supreme Court justices, nor can we have justices of the Superior Electoral Court who are working in favor of Flavio Bolsonaro's dirty politics because they were appointed to the Supreme Court by Bolsonaro. That's what's at stake. For example, I watched Globo News, and Globo News was talking about this situation. Globo News also focused on the federal police, because there are a lot of people who don't have the courage to talk about Supreme Court justices. Globo News should have talked about it too, right? Just like the federal police is a state agency and not a government agency and shouldn't interfere in the political field. In the same way, a Supreme Court justice, no matter who it is, cannot make decisions that benefit one candidate over another. They can't take measures, go after one person being investigated while the other person, Flavio, doesn't even have a search and seizure order. There's no lifting of confidentiality. There's nothing. Or can they? And so why do they keep criticizing the federal police then? Don't you have the courage to say it? Just like I want an impartial police force that serves the state, I want an impartial judiciary that serves the state, so that there is equality of arms, so that there is equality and that the same rules should apply to both. Because the feeling we get is that there are groups protecting Flavio Bolsonaro. Isn't that right, everyone? For God's sake, people. Flavio Bolsonaro was demanding millions of reais in stolen money from Daniel Borcaro, so much so that Daniel Borcaro is in jail. And nothing so far. Do you know what absolutely nothing is? No search and seizure. I want justice. It doesn't matter. I don't care who it's for. I want justice for everyone. And then the things I'm going to tell you, I don't know. Renan Santos. He was on Globo. Look here.
Renan Santos today showed that his democratic commitment depends on the acceptance of his government program. The candidate presented himself as someone who will not comply with federal Supreme Court decisions that he considers illegal, which is absolutely unconstitutional. He claims that his election would give him the right to confront the Constitution, to confront the Supreme Court, to confront the penal execution law. There are a number of positions that the candidate takes. Today, they are anti-democratic.
Renan Santos, he's rising in the polls, right? Why? He's taking votes away from Flavio. He's taking votes away from Flavio. So, since Flavio is kind of spineless because he's scared, Renan Santos is going after him. He's the one facing attacks from all sides. And he says such nonsense that you have to be a Bolsonarist to believe him. And since the Bolsonarists are kind of lost with no one to guide them, now they're believing in Renan Santos. But do you want to know what I think? I think it's not enough. He's taking votes away from Flavio. Flavio ends. You're in trouble, huh, Flavio? The right, the far right, they're at war. They're trying to bring each other down. And I think it's not enough. I think it's good. But we have to show it. Right? In fact, Congressman Pastor Henrique Vieira mentioned it here. What he said here is important too. Pay attention.
Good morning. A brief comment about Renan Santos, the MBL candidate from the Mission Party for the presidency. Well, that's Bolsonarism at the highest level, just the rich kid version, but with loafers. It's Bolsonarism, fanaticism, authoritarianism, coup-mongering, just with someone in their early 20s. That's fierce, hyper-individualistic capitalism that hates the people, hates the working class, but with this supposedly youthful spirit, that's showing off based on violence, mobilizing hatred and irrationality, but with a slightly trendy suit and tie. There, to be straight, it's a wannabe dictator, a wannabe fascist, a wannabe who rules for the system, claiming to be anti-system. There's absolutely nothing. Again, comes with a cool appearance to protect the system of privilege. Corrupt, rotten, that crushes the people, that takes away rights. There he will probably be against ending the 6-on-1 work schedule. Any guarantee of rights for workers, people struggling to survive without anything to eat, and he keeps talking about meritocracy. That's the plantation house mentality, you know, colonial, of the whip, of racism, of violence, of contempt for human dignity. And then he comes with the cursing, comes with social media savvy, comes with viral content based on hate. But it's boat shoes, trendy suit and tie, pure Faria Lima politics, it's hyper-individualism, fierce capitalism, a rotten system, an aspiring fascist. That's it. It's up to us to defeat traditional Bolsonarism. It's up to us to defeat the preppy rich kid kind of Bolsonarism. Let's go forward with a sparkle in our eyes, feet on the ground, simplicity and courage, talking to our people. However the far right comes, in whatever disguise they come, we'll do what we know how to do. Defeat them. In the name of democracy and good, humane, and generous causes, a fraternal, firm, and resolute embrace.
And that's it. And I know you're a Bolsonaro supporter. Now you have a full-on guns blazing option. How Flavio is such a coward, right? He wimped out. Flavio did. Yeah, Flavio wimped out, you know. The Bolsonaro supporter who's here being annoying, whining. Now you have a voting option. Yeah, Renan dos Santos, look at that. Oh my God. Now you can vote. Vote for Renan dos Santos because he's the Bolsonaro supporter of the moment now, you know, because Flavio has already lost his drive. Are you getting the message, guys? Oh my God, I'm not going to comply with a single justice ruling. When talking about the relationship he will have with the Supreme Federal Court if elected, Renan Santos stated that he will not comply with a single justice ruling from the Federal Supreme Court. He's just sweet-talking the crowd. Later, when he gets in there, which he won't, he's only going to take votes away from Flavio. Wonderful. Everything is just fine. Stay quiet. Stay quiet. Right? But now we have to sweet talk the crowd. He's the rich Bolsonaro supporter. Look how wonderful. Now you have someone even better than Bolsonaro to vote for. But he reminded me of someone. Maybe you remember this person too. Renan dos Santos reminded me of someone, another rich kid there who isn't really a rich kid anymore. And he got screwed with credit debit picks and in the 2024 election for São Paulo Maior. Who am I talking about? Yeah, that's right. He got screwed. Here, look. Unanimously, the São Paulo Regional Electoral Court upholds Pablo Marçal's ineligibility. In 2025, Marçal was convicted for misuse of the media. He promoted video clip contests on social media. The decision included upholding a fine of 420,000 reais for the former candidate for failing to comply with a court order. And this was another decision that was upheld because he wanted to be a candidate now. It's like it didn't even happen, going back to square one. Because he had already been sentenced to a fine and ineligibility because of that lie. He presented a medical certificate saying that Guilherme Bulos had been hospitalized for excessive cocaine use. Do you remember that? He presented that in a debate, and it's false. It was false, and the doctor didn't even exist. Do you remember that? Yeah? Look at what these people are capable of doing, and Pablo Marçal won't be getting into politics anytime soon. He got screwed. And this Renan dos Santos, depending on how things go, he will follow the same path as Pablo Marçal in this election. Why, Andre? Because that's all they have to offer. Bravado, violence, lies, and all that. But for the Bolsonaro supporters, he's a good candidate. Who, Andre? Renan dos Santos. Because he comes out swinging. because Flavio isn't like that anymore. Flavio is trying to be moderate to get the votes from people who are kind of undecided, kind of in the center. So you have a genuine option to vote for. Who? Renan dos Santos. Did you get the hint, my dear? I'm already giving you a hint. If the guy is a Bolsonaro supporter and he's not sure whether to vote for Flavio or not, tell him to vote for Renan because he goes in guns blazing. The fewer votes Flavio gets, the easier it is for Lula to win in the first round. Get the hint, my dear, my dear. Put it, Lula, four-time champion, and play. Hit the like button. Kisses.
My handsome one and my beautiful one, thank you.
Thank you.